Welcome everyone to another episode. Today we have a Miss Katharine Giovanni all the way from the US. So she is a three times award-winning best-selling author, speaker, and one of the original founders of independent concierge industry. So Katharine has authored over 12 books, including her latest release, The Ultimate Path of Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. So, Catherine's journey from battling stage 3 breast cancer to navigating to challenge childhood has given her profound insight about resilience and forgiveness. So, in this episode, we're going to learn more about Catherine's journey, how she got out from her cancer, and also how she's been writing all of them books, how she's been a speaker, and everything around her life. And we're gonna take out the good thing, bad thing as well to see anything we can implement in our life from her lessons and her journey. So, without further ado, let's welcome Katherine to the show. Katherine, welcome to the show, and how are you doing today?
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Doing well over here.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm excited to learn more about yourself and your journey. When we hear about like a cancer, if someone is going through, is really close to me because my dad passed away with the cancer when I was really, really young. I don't know how much you know about my story. We always talk about on the podcast and my blogs and everything around it. So it scares me sometimes, knowing it's not like something easy to deal with for people, those who's gone through, especially when you are like at that kind of level, stage 3. So walk me through about the journey you had. So when did you diagnose with your cancer? Is it like before you being an author or after you being an author? What kind of age range? So for us to
I
understand.
have I have been intuitive all my life, and I have listened to that little bird that sits on everybody's shoulder all my life. And and there's a lot of water under the bridge and a lot of stuff, but in 2011, all of a sudden, I felt I had to start jogging.
Mhm.
I am allergic to exercise. So I ignored the little voice in my head when it said you need to take up running, but I couldn't get it out of my head. I just felt this need to take up running. I couldn't shake it. So I tried the Couch to 5K running program, which is frankly brilliant, and it does exactly what you think it does.
Yeah.
And I eventually ran a 5K. And I was probably a size 14, 16 at that point, and the weight started to come off. And at the beginning, I thought, well, it's because I'm running and eating right and getting healthy again. But it was coming off too fast. And
Right.
by the time I got to an 8, I actually found the lump myself. It was in a very, very strange spot. And the surgeon said, and I had the double mastectomy and I had chemo and radiation and all these things. I was sick for 4 years. But the surgeon said if I hadn't taken up running, I would be dead because the lump was in such a strange spot,
Mhm.
nobody would have found it. And none of the tests found it because I have been tested with mammograms all my life and none of them found it. So my advice to everybody is when that little bird in your shoulder starts to sing at you, when your gut is telling you something that loudly, please listen. It might save your life. But I can't control what life throws at me, but I can control how I get through it. And how I got through it is I combined Eastern and Western medicine. And
Yeah.
I did what the doctors told me to, but then I started adding a huge dose of forgiveness using my own forgiveness system. And I added a huge dose of gratitude and positivity. And back in those days, I don't think they do it anymore, but they send you to chemo class. Not kidding. It's
Right.
chemo class. And they sit you in this airless little room with this nurse Ratchet at the front who proceeds to regale you with all the bad things that are about to happen to you. Awful. And so I'm listening. No, this is what you should be eating. No positivity. No, she's just sharing all the nasty things that are about to happen. And
Mm.
I thought my brain just snapped in half. So after the class, I walked up to the front and said, I'm not getting any of those. And I live in the south of the United States. And she dropped, oh, honey, you're going to get most of them. I said, no, I'm not. And you fast forward 1 year, she stopped me in the hallway. She said, Mrs. Giovanni, I need to talk to you. What are you doing? I'm looking around thinking, oh, I'm just walking down the hall. I have no idea what she was
Yeah.
talking about. And she said, why are you, why are you so healthy? You have stage 3. We're throwing all these things. What are you eating? And I smiled at her and I said, I'm eating clean and doing all the things that I should be doing. I said, but you remember a year ago when I told you I wasn't going to get as sick as everybody? She said, yeah. I said, that's what I did. It's a mindset. She said,
Right.
no, that's not true. And I said, yeah, it is. So staying positive is kind of like taking a shower. I think you need to do it every day. And when you're in pain and you've got cancer, stay positive. I know stage 4 people who are still alive to this day that have beat it.
Mm.
So cancer is not the death sentence you think it is. It is beatable.
Yeah. So did you get to go through the chemotherapy route or like you
I
did
did.
natural?
I
Okay.
I did. I had chemotherapy, radiation. I had 10 operations and I was sick for a good 4 years. And then I was on medication for 10 years. But I've been declared cancer free and cured of stage 3 triple positive breast cancer. And it's a journey. But if you combine inner work, meaning, you start thinking positively and you start changing your
Mhm.
mindset and you do what the doctors tell you,
Yeah.
this is a beatable thing.
Yeah. And how's your process during the time, like when you're going through everything, like you're talking about 10 surgeries, 4 years of like instance, the treatment plan you have to go through. A lot of times, a lot of people give up on their hope. A lot of times it's just like a too much, like people get into depression. Like how's your mindset during the time after you figure out, like we found out, like you have in a stage 3?
I think you have to give yourself time to be, excuse my language, but you need to give yourself time to be pissed off.
Mm.
Honestly, you to give yourself time to be upset and eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream if you want to. I don't care what you do, but you need time to be upset. And please, with all my heart and with all my soul, please don't go to Dr. Google because Dr. Google will have you dead by 3 o'clock on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So don't do that. And don't go to those message forums, especially those breast cancer message forums. If you have a question, go to your doctor because the message forums are all, no disrespect intended, but most of them is when people have a problem, they go there. So you're not hearing from the people who aren't having problems, who are getting through it well. You're only
Yeah.
hearing from one side.
Yeah.
So I would meditate. When I felt myself getting really depressed, I'm blessed. I've been married to a wonderful man for 33 years, and he would kind of pull me out of the brink when I started to get nasty. So would my 2 sons. You need kind of a good team of people around you, some really close friends who know the signs when you're starting to fail. Being
Mhm.
positive 24/7 is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Nobody can be Susie Sunshine from Sunnybrook Far 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not possible. So you are going to have some downtimes, but keep your motivation, stay positive because cancer today is not the death sentence that it used to be.
Yeah. And like you said, I really like the fact, like Googling stuff and just figuring out everything on your own. Sometimes you just get like too much chaotic. I remember when I had ulcerative colitis of about 5, 6 years now. I have that. So is close to like I have like a clone cancer, and I was just Googling a lot of times about the illness and how what to do and what's the next
Hmm.
plan going to be. Every time I'm going to the loophole, it just redirecting me through colon cancer and then
Yep.
surgery to remove my bowel and things like that. Then I stopped doing that for a while and then joined like a few Facebook groups, people around this, because my doctor said like you can join support community. And every time in the community,
Perfect.
instead of seeing like a good stuff, I'm just getting all bad stuff, like how their treatment is not working, how they had to go through multiple surgeries, nothing is working, they got another diseases, how they cannot get out of the bed. And I had to get out of that as well. And I just realized, and more I'm doing that, the more I'm getting ill, because my gut problem is related to my stress level and how I'm
Right.
doing on the day to day with my mindset. And it's like 90% of the causing it through the stress and the way I'm thinking, the way I'm looking at the life. So I realized like I had to cut out all of the stuff, like even though from my doctors, and I had to completely cut off the medicine. Uh, it's been like over 1.5 years, and since then I've been a complete remission. Before that, I was like a strong medication, steroid, biological treatment, biological treatment is close to like a chemotherapy you have, and that actually gave me so much of the side effects. It created like a 10 different kind of illnesses out of nowhere. I had a heart attack symptom, I had a stroke symptom, I went to ER so many times because of that, and they thought like having had heart attack, they just like given some kind of attack from there, like a stress hormone got increased, and my bone gone weak, my muscle gone weak, and it's just killing me. So I had to get off it completely, because even though medication they putting me on, if nothing is working out, they told me like I have
Oh,
to remove all of my bowels completely to for rest of my life. And I thought like this is not something I wanna do completely, because even then there is no solution, because now I'm prone to get more cancers because of the area they have taken out, and my body not gonna absorb any nutrient, and this is not something like I wanted to do. And then I had to look for like natural ways, and a lot of studies I had to do on my own and figure out, like you said, it's like most of it is like a mindset, the way you think, the way you eat, and I had to change everything like that, the
yep,
way
I did
my
too.
lifestyle, yeah. And that actually completely put me on the remission, and like over 1.5 years now, I've been like feeling much better than before with like a medication I was on. So it just all start from you, I believe. And like you said, like probably your medicine or treatment wouldn't work out like if you didn't change your mindset during the process. So is there like any kind of like a support you needed to take, like from your husband or anyone for like give you the moral support? Do you think you have should help you?
I had a good team of people around me to
Hmm.
keep some good friends, and I have to this day a really tight, really good group of friends that circle the wagons, so to speak, when they have to. And I think having a support system is very important. And if you're going through this alone, those forums, while I don't like them particularly because I think it's like doom scrolling, and you see all the dark side of these diseases. They also can be actually very supportive if you just manage to get in with a really supportive group of people. So there's good things to it and bad things to it. But at the end of the day, the answers are already inside of you because they
Hmm.
are. And food is very important, and clean eating is very important, and not eating all the chemicals. Like, don't eat McDonald's French fries and stuff. I mean, eat food as clean as possible, meaning as close to the natural form as you can. I'm not
Yeah,
saying become a vegan or anything. I'm just saying whatever it is you eat, if you don't understand the ingredients, put it back.
yeah,
Americans are the kid. I mean, our food supply is filled with all sorts of ingredients that I can't identify, and if I don't know what it is, I put it back. That's it.
yeah.
But it's also a question of forgiving yourself,
Mm,
because it's a lot of self-forgiveness, because you've gotten this horrible disease and you think, well, it must be me. I must have done something wrong. I must have eaten something wrong. I must have done something. And at the end of the day, none of us will ever know why we got this disease. No, I don't know why I got breast cancer. My mother and my grandmother had it, but I don't carry that gene, the
yeah,
BRCA gene. So why did I get it? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Because I have been known to say many, many times, as crazy as this sounds, breast cancer was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it absolutely forced me to change everything about my life. And it put me on a new path.
yeah.
It's almost like the universe picked me up and threw me down on another path. Now, I'd like the universe to dial back the severity next time, please, or just talk to me. I mean, don't have to go through that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it put me on a brand new path. And when I wrote my most recent book on forgiveness, I actually put that into my forgiveness process, and I forgave myself for getting cancer, and I forgave the cancer itself, and I forgave the people who ran. Um, and I'm crazy. I do write a lot of books. So
mm,
I wrote a book about my breast cancer journey called Rainbows and Banana Peels, because of course I did. Shocker. But but when you have a diagnosis or whatever it is, staying positive and not listening to the death naysayers is key. I'll never forget it to the day I die. I was in the grocery store, and I actually thought I looked pretty good that day. I was bald as a cue ball, kind of looked like Schmeagol from the Lord of the
right.
Rings. But I didn't have a wig on, but I had a nice, scarf on. I thought I looked pretty good. And this woman took one look at me. She put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Oh dear, how much time do you have?" looked
Right.
at her and I couldn't help myself. I'm a concierge trainer by trade, so I
Yeah.
pride myself on knowing the right things to say, but my brain snapped, man. I couldn't stand it. I said, "Well, you better watch out. I could die right here in front of you." But, it's a question of trying to ignore that type of thing and just when you get into that kind of a mindset, go within. And I'm not saying meditate because not all of us can meditate. I'm one of them. But what
Yeah.
I'll do is I will sit in a quiet room and I will just pay attention to the sounds around me and I'll pay attention to my breath. And if my brain starts to do what it does, I let it. And
Yeah.
I'll have a pad of paper and a pen next to me in case my brain pushes out something pretty cool. So that's what I do to get myself centered and grounded. And that's at the end of the day, that was one of the things that got me through cancer. And a positive attitude and my perspective, because I decided I wasn't going to die, and I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it just did it like the same as like I was going through the same process. So after I diagnosed and my whole family's like, why you got that in such a young age? And you probably eaten wrong things, you probably did something or like
See, that's
whatever.
the thing I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
what I don't want you to listen to. I mean,
Yeah.
look at them respectfully and say, "Thank you for your opinion. I
Yeah.
appreciate you," and toss it over your shoulder and ignore it. Because
Yeah.
that's not helpful. It's not helpful to come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had breast cancer. My mother died of breast cancer."
Mm.
Okay, don't tell me about your relative that died of the disease I have. That is not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, same way. Like all my families just keep on giving negative, and I had to have a distance to it
Mhm.
because I was booked for like uh, you put the pipe inside your gut and they check out and everything. So I was going through
Yep.
the I don't know what's it called. I can't remember the test.
Colonoscopy.
Yeah, colonoscopy. Yeah, the stone.
Those are fun.
Yeah, so obviously it's just like terrifying. I'm having it done in the first
Yep.
time, and obviously my gut is painful anyway, as it is. And going through the family and just telling them like I have an appointment next week. I'm going to do that, and there was like 4 or 5 different people in my family, and then one person like, oh, someone got poked in the stomach, then all go bleed out, then how he died. Then another person said like, oh, my brother had the same thing done. It's been like 6 months, he can't eat anything after that.
So
And
not
you
helpful.
just are freaking out. Like after I gone, I had no choice because I'm bleeding out so much anyway. I have to do that. So otherwise, doctor don't know what to do with it. So I had to go through obviously, but I'm freaked out so much. And after that test, I came out. I wouldn't be happier than the person. I was like, that wasn't bad at all. Like the pain was very minimal, and I was fine. I was able to eat after 1 hour, and everything was fine. Then after that, I go out. I'm telling everyone like, go get you're checked out. If you've been waiting for a
Sure.
gastric issue or anything, you have like a problem with your gut, just do the colonoscopy. It's not that bad. It's like there is a chance like every 1,000 people one could be get like some kind of problem, but it's like everything in our life. Like there is a chance of risk in everything, and they just like keep on bringing us like, oh, I have probably done something wrong in the past. I have eaten something wrong. My food habits. I was like, no, my food has been great. Like I've been eating the same meal every single evening, same meal every single day, and I had a boring lifestyle for over 10 years. Even then, I got the same disease, and I cannot explain to you. And even though like they put us in my back of my mind, I was like, this is meant to be for me, and I believe in God. I was like, that God have chosen for me. No matter how good I've been, no matter how bad I've been, meant to get that, I would get it. And I'm blessed with it in our religion in Islam. Like if you have a stomach disease or cancer, like you get like highest level of heaven if you die with it. So there is like for me, like I have that kind of belief system. Some faith have that like in Christianity as well. So I'm not sure like what belief system you have, and everyone is listening. But with me, like I'm blessed with it, and I'm not complaining anything about it. And why you feeling sorry about me that much when I'm not sort of feeling sorry about myself? Like yes,
People, it's
yeah,
it's people, they think they're helping when they come up to you and say, "Well, my mother's first cousin died and bled," and all these kinds of things.
yeah,
And my opinion has always been when you're going in for a test, I've had colonoscopies and
mm,
they're horrible. And I've had a lot of bad tests. And you can go into the test expecting the worst.
yeah,
And the universe is going to, a lot of times, you're expecting the worst. Okay, clearly you want the worst. Here's the
yeah,
experience of experiencing the worst. So I always flip the thought. When I go into for something like that, I actually expect the best. And I may not do it out loud, but I'm doing it in my head. I expect the surgery to go brilliantly. I
Mm,
expect that the outcome to be perfect. Is it perfect 10 out of 10 times? Not always, but it puts me in the mindset and it puts my body in the mindset of it's going to be brilliant. And when people are around me telling me these horrible things that happened to them, I literally will turn my ears off, or I'll politely squash it, saying, thanks, that's a great story, and I'm so sorry that happened to you, but that's not going to be my experience. And they tend to look at me like I've just grown another head on my body, but it puts me in the right mindset, and because the only way I survived stage 3 breast cancer was by staying positive, and I did it purposely. And when I caught myself getting depressed, I would pull myself back.
yeah.
And I have actually 10 less inches of my colon. I had diverticulitis. So,
Mm,
there was a lot of stuff that I had to go through. But I literally will, my mantra has always been to leave people better than I find them. And I do that in hospitals, I do that in grocery stores. And whenever I went into the hospital, the nurses would always come into my room and take a break because, I'm here to help people.
yeah.
And when people tell me these bad things, then I try and flip the thought because I don't think it's helpful at the end of the day to tell somebody who's really, really scared about a scary thing that happened to them. I don't think that's helpful. I think that just makes it worse.
Yeah, totally. So how was your process of like you've been writing all of them books, going through healing yourself and the process? Because a lot of time would give up on them kind of dreams or like doing things for the world,
Hmm.
get victimized or like or I have like a disabling condition, I'm not able to do things like that. And you being doing public speaking, you've been written books, which is award-winning books. So what
Hmm.
actually uh, made you like keep going and following your dreams and passion?
When I was a kid, I tried to commit suicide in the eighth grade, and I turned into one of those angry teenagers, and my parents were alcoholics, and life was pretty dark. And then my mother, everybody in their life has a flashpoint. That's what I call them. And it's, you can look back at your life and you can identify that one time when everything changes. You didn't know it at the time, but that was the
Mm,
flashpoint. Everybody has one. And my mother one day fell down a flight of stairs drunk and she broke her hip and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out. We sent her to rehab and we spent the next 3 years closer than sisters. I mean, we were tight. And then she died of breast cancer.
right.
And that was my flashpoint. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that if I didn't get my act together, I was going to die too. So I quit drinking. I've been sober for 35 years and I changed my life. And that's when I started on the path. And I kind of, as I jokingly will say, I almost became God's guinea pig because I'd go through all these crazy things and then I'd write about it. And the reason I wrote about it is because I think even if one of my stories helps one person avoid going through what I went through, then it's completely worth it to me. So that's kind of how it started. That's how the writing started. But when you're writing a book, everybody gives you a lot of advice. And if anybody listening is thinking about writing a book, don't listen to any advice, including mine. And what everybody thinks is they have to come up with a title. And then you have to start with chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. That's
Yeah.
not my process. I actually wrote my Rainbows and Banana Peels book, which is on about my breast cancer journey, on my cell phone in a chemo chair because I was bored. And I would just write thoughts as they came to my head. And after about 6 months to a year, I got all my quote unquote thoughts that I emailed to myself and I turned them into a book. So
Hmm.
what you're writing today might end up being chapter 9. So,
Right.
unless you're writing a book of fiction and you need characters and a storyline, if you're writing nonfiction, don't worry about what chapter 1, don't worry about what it's called, just write. And then eventually you'll have enough content that you can put it into a book. It's like
Yeah.
podcasting. You want to put all the podcasts into one big thing. Okay, well, this podcast might be the fourth one in your series. You look at everything and then you put it together. And that's kind of how I did it. And then I figured out along the way, I figured out this way of forgiving because everybody teaches us that we need to forgive, but nobody teaches you how. And what if you don't want to?
Right. Yeah.
So I've developed with an actual step-by-step process of forgiving. And, a few things about that is just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. And just because I forgive you doesn't mean that you were right. You're still
Mm.
wrong. You probably still need to make amends. What it means is I want you out of my head. That's what it means. I want it out of my head. And what a lot of people don't but they realize is they can forgive people, places, and things. If it's in your head, you can forgive it, which means you can forgive dead people too, because it doesn't matter where they are or not. You don't have to reach out to these people. You can do it quietly in your own home.
Yeah.
So I did. And I forgave breast cancer. I actually sat there and said, I forgive breast cancer. I forgive myself for getting breast cancer and the energy around this thought, because clearing the energy is pretty critical. And I forgave the chemo. I forgave the chair. I forgave the doctors. And it literally allowed me to remove the anger I got and the guilt that I got because it was affecting my entire family being
Mm.
sick for so many years. It really, really, really helped. But if you are going to use my process, please start with easy ones and work your way up to the unforgivable because they're a bear.
Yeah. So, Catherine, we are nearly coming to end of this show. So, before we wrap up here, if anyone wants to get some one advice from you and they go and take implement in their life, what is the one advice will be in their life?
You are worthy enough to live a life of joy. You are worthy enough to be cured of whatever illness you're facing. It's your birthright to live in happiness. It is not your birthright to live in a refrigerator box in the street and living in hate and lack and not having your dream career. You can have this life. You're worthy of it. And once you start focusing on yourself and once you start forgiving the people, you'll be able to have a new perspective and you'll see things clearer. You might even find a new cure for your illness or a new way to make money. But this is your birthright. You are here to live in joy.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing the advice with us. So, Catherine, before we wrap up, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself, your business, or they want to grab a copy of your book, they can find out?
You can find all my books on Amazon. I have the paperback, the ebook, and the audiobooks available on Amazon for most of the books, two of them at least. And then you can go to my website for information about me. And my first name is spelled, thanks to my mother, a little odd. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni.com.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you very best of luck with everything you do and rest of your life with a healthy lifestyle and you have. And thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That was my pleasure. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Katharine Giovanni. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about her, you can visit her website. I'm going to put the link on the description for you, as well as you can grab her books from Amazon. I'm going to put all the books title on the description as well for you to find out. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. So take care.